So in academic writing, we use paragraphs to organize ideas. Okay, so you have points, ideas, or arguments. You organize them into paragraphs. And the key thing here is that every paragraph should have its own idea, should have its own point. That point must start there and end there. Okay, so at no point should you be mixing up ideas. Kuna paragraph moja, kuna idea imeanzia mahali imeendelea kwa kwingine. That is wrong. If you have 10 ideas, we expect you to have at least 10 paragraphs. Sometimes you might have an idea or a theme, and the theme happens to also have sub themes. Okay, and you realize if you try to put all those sub themes in one paragraph, the paragraph will be so huge. So if that happens, you can now split every sub theme to be on its own separate paragraph. Okay, so sometimes you can have an idea, but you realize that idea also has sub ideas ndani yake. So instead of making a very huge paragraph, ni heri separate sub ideas, kila moja ijisimamie kwa paragraph yake. Okay, so the number of paragraphs you have will depend on how many ideas you have. The number of paragraphs you have will depend on how many ideas you have. Okay, so the rule is that a paragraph will always have at least 3 sentences. I mean, you can never have something you're calling a paragraph unless it has 3 sentences. If it has less than 3, that is not a paragraph. And these 3 sentences are distributed as follows. The first sentence of a paragraph, tunaitanga the thesis sentence. The first sentence of a paragraph is the thesis sentence. You can also call it a cliche, a topic sentence, an opening sentence. Whatever you call it is usually the first sentence of introduction. This sentence, kazi yake, is just to announce what that entire paragraph will be about. It does not offer any explanations, and therefore it should not contain any citations or references. The first sentence is the topic sentence. It is usually just a statement that announces what the entire paragraph will be about. Please remember this. That sentence should not be offering any explanations. Do not have words like because when you introduce the because, it means you're starting to explain things. Okay, it is a mere statement that announces that this paragraph is about A, B, C, D. And therefore, also remember, do not start with citations like according to. Okay, I've seen many people starting paragraphs with according to. That is like you are starting with the citations. Don't even include citations within the first sentence, because just a topic sentence, just setting out the mood. Okay, sometimes the topic sentence might also include a transition word. A transition word is basically a phrase that you use to show connections between various paragraphs. For example, if you have things that you're listing, maybe from 1, 2, 3, you have things that you're listing, you will start with firstly. Okay, and then when you go to the second paragraph, you will begin with secondly, then maybe thirdly, and then maybe lastly, for ordered ideas. Okay, or for steps, things that have a step, a process. Okay, if you're talking about things that add to each other, you can begin with one of them, and then the second paragraph will begin with a word such as in addition to or besides. Okay, those are called transitions that just show that paragraph 2 is an addition to paragraph 1, a contrast to paragraph 1, or an emphasis to paragraph 1. We also have emphasis kind of transitions where you can start with undoubtedly, without a doubt, those that emphasize a point. Okay, you can also have contrasting if you're talking about differences. Okay, and number 1, you started the first paragraph is about an advantage. You can go ahead and begin with in contrast. Okay, so those are the transitions that we have. So you can go over to the internet and learn about transitions and learn how to use transitions within paragraphs. In fact, some transitions can also occur within sentences. It's okay, but in most cases you need transitions between paragraphs. That's so that it just helps to show that the paragraphs are somehow flowing from one to the next. Okay, so the first sentence usually might include a transition word such as one of the. Okay, that part, one of the, that is just a transition. Okay, now sentence number 2 is the sentence we are calling explanatory sentence. Now, this is where you offer the explanations. This is where you offer the explanations, and therefore you are expected to show evidence, to show connection between relationships, kama kuna variables, show the links, the connections, and all those. And then obviously you need to be citing. Okay, so the bulk of the scientific citations, the scientific evidence you're going to use will go to the second sentence. So this is where now you show the because, the explanations, the why, the hows, the where, okay, in sentence 2. And then the last sentence is just the concluding sentence, which gives a final takeaway message from that theme. Okay, so obviously again, avoid citing. Do not cite anything in the last sentence, because if you do that, it's basically like you're introducing any new information. Yet this concluding sentence is just supposed to give us a takeaway message, a final thought. Okay. So when you are writing a paragraph, just adhere to those three, the three, make sure you have those three sentences. We can identify your topic sentence or thesis sentence. We can identify your explanatory sentence, and we can also identify the concluding sentence. However, you'll notice that one sentence is never enough to really explain a point or a theme. So typically you'll find that a good paragraph will have, for the number 2, you'll have like even 4 sentences that fall under explanation. Okay. So the explanatory sentences might be even 4 to 8. Okay. So if you have like 4 sentences that you have dedicated to explanations, you'll have a total of 6, because utakuwa na 4 hapa, 5, and then 6. Okay. So a good paragraph will begin from 6 sentences. And in fact, during the training, if I give an assignment, do not send me an assignment where you have a paragraph that has less than 6 sentences. It only means that that point is very sketchy. Okay. So make sure every paragraph you're writing will have a minimum of 6 in this class. But out there, the rule is 3. The actual minimum is 3. But for me, I don't want you to work with 3, because I don't believe one sentence is enough to really explain an idea. I believe for the explanation part, you need several sentences, which like 4 to 8, right? So you need to really explain, provide examples, justify points, and of course now integrate studies within the paragraphs to strengthen your point. Okay. So a good paragraph will roughly have 6 to 10 sentences. That's a good paragraph. Okay. Yeah. So that is basically everything you need to know about paragraphs. Remember, you must have a minimum of 3. Nothing will ever be called a paragraph unless it has a minimum of 3 sentences. The 3 sentences are not just supposed to be any sentence, they have a purpose. The first one should only be the topic sentence. Do not offer explanations. And then you can now go to explanations in sentence 2, and then you conclude the final thought in the last sentence. Citation can only be placed within the second section, which is the explanation sentences. Okay. Don't put citations on the first and on the last sentence. Okay. Hiyo imesink. So that is all about paragraphs.